For decades, Pioneer Car Electronics has been supporting automotive events nationwide like Joe's Minibike Reunion. You know, no matter what you drive, Pioneer's got the gear to upgrade your ride so that it sounds better and it connects you to the latest in technology like Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, and the popular Alexa. Remember, don't break up with your car, upgrade it with Pioneer Car Electronics. For more information, check them out at pioneercarelectronics.com.
This is the Candyman from Studs Racing. We've got tires, and tires. We've got big ones, small ones, street ones, off-road ones. Oh my God. Why do we have so many tires? Tires. We have so many son of tires. Tires. Come on and get your tires.
Oh my God, we got so many tires.
Tires. Come see us. Dearborn Heights, Michigan, studsracing.com.
You know, one of the coolest things I enjoy on those Friday night rides with my Honda Grom lifestyle buddies, it's the people. Tonight's podcast guest by far is one of the most interesting. Stick around and find out for yourself on the next Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. We've got a great podcast in store for you tonight. Digger Dean's going to be the guest. And before we get to Digger, I just want to touch base on a couple of things that are happening in the mini bike scene. Start off by hoping everybody's doing well. We're about 90 days out from the big Joe's Minibike Reunion. That's October the 8th. How many times I have to say this, but pre-register now. This would probably be the time to do it. You can get it out of the way. All the information for registration, as well as just about all the general rules and guidelines about the event, maybe some of the similar questions that we may hear over and over. How much does it cost? Can I buy a booth? Are there opportunities to get on the dyno? All those types of questions. We've answered those in some of the previous podcasts, but at any time you could drop in at joesminibikereunion.com for more information. You can register, you can save some money. We introduced a program that allows some of those guys who've been hanging out in the parking lot, the lot lizards, we affectionately refer to them. Hey, we want you guys inside the show. So for as little as $10, you can register your bike. You get a nice goodie bag. You're not eligible for some of the prizes and the judging. If you do want to be included in some of that or the dyno, then it is a little bit more. But if you just want to be a part of the show, which to me is the reason why I have it, is so that everybody can be together. To talk to folks who have similar interests, to see bikes that can maybe motivate you, or maybe vice versa. Some folks would get a kick out of seeing what you have. Don't hang out in the parking lot. Come inside. We've got a couple things that I wanted to touch on. The first thing is I want to recognize some of the sponsors that continue to join the Joe's Minibike Reunion list of supporters. I want to give a shout out to Big E at Yoshimura. Looking forward to having you guys in attendance. We recognized the fact that you would be on site, as well as being a big part of the show, giving away some cool Yoshimura products, but having you on site for all your exhaust and performance-related expertise. We're looking forward to having you guys with us. So thank you, and a big shout-out to Yoshimura. I just had a conversation with Eric at Studs. Studs Racing will be back on site. Thank you, Eric, for the continuous support and also supporting this podcast. Don't forget, if you've got a small engine need, check out studsracing.com for all your needs. They've got their big their big annual event happening this weekend. It's for more information, contact Eric at studracing.com and ask for your Joe's Minibike Reunion discount, and they'll probably charge you extra. Okay. So there were some questions that I continuously get having to do with the categories, because judging at the event is something that many of the participants are interested in. I have done my best to identify the categories that I think most reflect the audience. So here are the Joe's Minibike Reunion categories that we have planned for this year. If anyone sees these categories and would like to share them, or if you would like to make a suggestion about a category that maybe is delinquent or could be added, think about it. And if you're really confident that I've missed something, let me know. I want to begin with a quick rundown of what we currently have. The vintage American-built mini bike class, by far, the Bonanzas, the Tacos, the Little Indians, those are the bikes that you see predominantly. Vintage Japanese-built bikes, the CT70s and the Z50s. The Survivors, those bikes that are completely stock, those are so cool to see. The Choppers, a big popularity. In fact, I think that's the theme of the Studs Racing mini bike show upcoming in the next couple of weeks. The Choppers are the theme there. So I can't wait to see some of those cool choppers in Michigan. And I'd love to see some of those bikes get over here to LA. I've got a couple myself. Custom mini bikes. Those are hand-built bikes. I see a lot of guys out there, they're building their own bikes, bending their own tubes. Yeah, we'd like to see you. We'd like to see you. Store Thumbs Garage, I think there's a guy recently that was reaching out. Electric bikes, well, I got ahead of myself. Rat bikes, start up at the top. Those are based largely on that rat rod style, the rusted look where they've got tuna cans for gas tanks. You know, you know what they are. They're rusty. They're graveyard-like. More than two wheels. We've seen everything from bar stools with engines on them to trikes. Because of my riding and getting out there, the LA bike, those are those bikes, those down and dirty bikes, the LA street bikes. There's a class for you guys now. We want you to come out. Drag mini bikes. Those are the ones with live axles. They're real race bikes, okay? We don't want to take a bike that we know is a vintage and put it in a drag racing category, or vice versa. You're one or the other. The micros, those are those smaller bikes that seem to be gaining some popularity. We've had a few of them. I really like my Temecula Bob micro bike. Jake Moe's, I think Jake's got his hands full, but I got to try to get him to do another one for me. These modern mini motos. These are the Honda Grom style bikes. When I say modern mini moto, that's the difference between the Groms, the Monkeys, the Kawasaki Z50 125 Pros. My boy Ernesto's got a Benelli. Those small 125s, those are 4-strokes. Those aren't 2-strokes, okay? Twist and goes. We're seeing an increase in popularity with these twist and go scooters. Those are your Ruckuses. Those are the new Cubs, the new Navis. You saw some of those, the Zumas. My boy Bernie rides a badass Zuma, and he's got a Ruckus. Those twist and goes are gaining in popularity to the point where I may buy a Vespa. They've got those 300 Vespas that are badass. I think they're like, I don't know if they're 17 horsepower. Dude, we're riding around in Groms that are 9 horsepower in some cases. So, and then at the very bottom, there's an electric mini bike class. I asked Bing as well as Ray from Steady Garage, who was on the last podcast. We talked a little bit about trends and these electric bikes by far. So we have an electric bike class. Another example of that is that Super 73. We're looking for young folks to get into the hobby, right? We want you to get your son and take him out of his room with his phone and get him on a friggin' mini bike, right? So there's a class just for young guns. These 4-strokes, these custom bikes, like when you see some of these Groms, they have big engines in them, like a 300. That goes in the 4-stroke mini bike class, excuse me. The what the F, you know what that is. If we can't figure out what the hell your bike is, we'll have an award for you. I've got an award named after me because I'm a narcissist and that's why I do this shit. We're going to have a dyno there, right? the dyno is going to now we're taking a segment of the group, and those are the badass guys. That winner is going to get recognized. Folks have been coming from 12 different states. Because of our next guest, after this show, there will probably get attendance from the whole 52 states. Maybe there's going to be 55 states represented now. A long distance award will go to the participant, the guy who registers his bike, not the guy who takes a plane and drives over in a rental car. The guy who came the furthest and registered a bike, there's an award for you. We lost my buddy Rick Chu. It was like everybody else, I'm sure, you dealt with a shocking surprise about somebody that you knew that was never going to die, who died because of COVID, either because of it or maybe not getting a boost or whatever the hell. I don't know, but we lost Rick, and we're not going to forget him. So we have an award because he was so passionate that we're going to keep that going. So the Rick Chu Award is new. Brad Elsie is another guy who was a big part of the Minibike Reunion when we first started. And we lost him on a low-speed motorcycle accident where he was killed. We can't have that anymore. It looks like I liked Rick enough where we duplicated it. But guys, these are the classes. Look at them again. Go back, look at them at the podcast, after the podcast. Check them out on my site. But if you have a class that I've missed, let me know. The rest is simply thank you again. We've got a good pre-registration already going. And I invite you again to go to joesminibikereunion.com now to register and save. All right. I appreciate the patience, and I want to take a moment to thank our guest tonight, Digger Dean, Digger Staggs. Digger, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for rolling over tonight, man.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. It's been very interesting.
Well, I was going to say, because you are a part of that mini moto group that I identified, because that's predominantly the types of bikes that gather when we ride on Friday nights.
Or I grew up with.
Well, I don't know. The Groms came out in 2014, so
yeah, okay. Excuse me.
But my point being is that we go, and you are one of those guys that we're like high schoolers where we text each other the morning of, are you going, Digger? It's like, yeah, but Ernesto, are you going? Yeah. Well, where are we going to meet? Well, what time are we going to meet? Do you want to go eat? And it really begins with is traditionally something I look forward to, hopefully as much as you do every night when we meet up. It is pretty cool, isn't it?
It is absolutely pretty cool, especially the way I came across your group and the way I met you was just absolutely amazing, for what every Friday night now is looking forward to, being prepared, getting ready, getting organized, like you said, texting one another, are we doing this? It's something that now we can kind of look forward to every
week.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been dormant this month because, like we all do, and we'll find out a little bit more in the podcast, particularly on your end, about the fact that we all do something else outside of riding these little mini motos traditionally on Friday nights. But yeah, one of the first questions that could pop up is, how does a 6'4", 230-pound dude end up with a group of mini bike guys? How did you come across, and I guess initially come in contact with the Honda Grom lifestyle guys? Do you remember that first time?
I do, actually. I remember the very first night I did come across the group. It was the Honda, what was the Honda?
Honda Grom lifestyle.
Grom Lifestyle.
Shout out to Bing Flores.
Thank you. It's absolutely fun every night. You guys should attend if you haven't attended before. Please come on and try it out. Meet me. Great. One night I just picked up a brand new 2022 XR 650L. I needed a license. That's the last endorsement I've never had. And in California, you have to redo all your licenses to add on now.
Okay.
So I have a bunch of different classifications. So I did not want to go through all those
procedures
and chance to lose any of them just for this add-on. Somebody told me about a loophole when my renewal came up. So back in 2015, my renewal came up and they just sent me a license. Darn it. So I waited until 2020. My license came up for renewal. I went to the DMV and I renewed. The lady's, okay, here you go. Go and test. Well, I've done this a dozen times, and every time I did it, she said, oh, here's 8 tests to go test. This time, go do that one. I passed, and now I needed a bike. We were dealing with COVID. No one had a registered bike that I knew of.
Sure.
And there were none on any floor. So this bike popped up one afternoon, and my friend called and said it was sitting on a showroom on that Friday night. I ended up picking this bike up, the XR I was telling you about.
Sure.
I did my license on it, got my license, so I was out by myself, just tootling around, and I was down by the 405 in Sepulveda, and I go, I'm gonna go through Hollywood like I wanted to. I got down to Highland and Hollywood Boulevard, and I was sitting out there going, I'll go one more block. And I'm sitting at the light, and out of the blue, here comes your group.
Sure, 60 mini motos.
It's
Sure.
60, 80 of them.
We're all rolling down Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard, vibrating. The whole street started vibrating. Next thing you know, I'm surrounded, let alone everybody else, and was taking pictures and this and that. It was amazing.
Sure.
I rode up and I parked with you guys a couple blocks away.
Where we traditionally, what he's referring to is we traditionally would park at either in front of or close to Grauman's Chinese Theater. Not only is it a landmark for all the tourists, but it keeps us close enough to Highland and Hollywood without actually being on it. There's, we're around that area. So you meet up and then you continued on and met where we park, right?
Where you parked. I rode 2 blocks with the group, not knowing any. I just
Did anyone
rode
encourage
along.
you to join us? Because we traditionally do that when we see another bike.
I believe that if something was going on, you guys were doing wheelies and sparks coming off the back of the bikes and things I normally do not do myself. But I do ride dirt bikes. I've always been on a dirt bike, but never learned how some of these things do.
Sure.
So I ride 2 more blocks. I sit there for a half hour with you guys, and you go off to another place. I don't recall.
Well, let's stop there. When you first met us, when we're all parked, so you just get off your bike, and all of a sudden you're like in front of all these guys, right? Pretty cool group, wouldn't you say?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Do you remember who you met? Do you remember? Did you run across Bing at first, or was anybody that stood out?
I remember Chris. I remember you. You were the first one to Bing, like Bing and Esto.
Right.
Bing came over and said hello. There was a few others. I'm bad with names.
Yeah, you mentioned Chris, and there's a bunch of other guys that Marcus and you've got all the scooter guys, but
there's Bernie and those guys. You know, I didn't know all of them off the bat. I met a couple of them. Bing gave me the Instagram, helped me get that Instagram set up. So the following weekend, I ended up taking the chance and rode down to where they park and meet. Got off the bike and just to hang out where you meet up to the kickstands up, or, just that little.
We have a little spot off of Second that we meet up, and the kickstands up is the abbreviation KSU tells you what time we're planning. The KSU is like everything else, just the time that we post, but we don't pay much attention to it. But we try to get up. In most cases, kickstands up would be like either 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on what time of the year it is. So we get there a little bit in advance and have a chance to socialize and catch up, all that stuff that we love doing that we talked about. So I can imagine the faces of Bing. And I remember when I first saw you, I don't know if you had on your full Digger Dean regalia with the camo full suit. And, Digger's a big guy, and he has boots on, and he has a big beard sticking out of his helmet. And he has a high bike. Those 650s are springy, bouncy dirt bikes. So when he gets to you and he arrives, there's a little bit of, there's a little bit of, I guess, an adjustment that we too make. And I remember first seeing, he's like, God, who's this big dude? And it was great because it's been it's going on closer to 2 years. We've been
about a year now. I think it's coming up on a year.
Because I remember we rode Big Bear, and that was the annual ride that just recently came again. So that's been about a year. Yeah. And I knew we hung out a little bit.
About a year.
So anyways, year and a half. We'll split the difference. But
you remember Ruben?
Yeah. See, I'm gonna go like you. I'm trying to put the name with
there
the
was
face.
a gentleman there. He rides with this a lot. He goes to the Big Bear. He has a helmet with horns and things.
Yes,
on this.
yes, Ruben. Christ, I know exactly what you're talking about. Sure,
I remember
Ruben Rodriguez.
One afternoon, sitting in the parking lot, and again, the parking lot, just a little bit of time hanging out with the group, learning things, learning the Minibike Reunion. It's, I wouldn't have ever known just being there. I learned all kinds of things.
You can eat that.
Ruben had walked up out of the blue and said something about a wrestler. You remind me. It just started off. And so now it kind of bled on.
Mick Foley. That's
Who?
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley.
Yeah, Mick
yes.
Foley. Yep.
I'm gonna have to look him up myself
check
because
him
I
out.
still don't
All
remember.
you WWF fans will recognize. Well, yeah, you do come across, and there's a little bit of truth behind it. I know this guy from somewhere. I've seen him. It's like, haven't I seen him on Sons of Anarchy, or haven't I seen him on one of those movies with Shrek? Or, you're a big, imposing guy. It's L.A., and there is some truth to that. Before we get into the other half of Digger Dean, we've had some photos. In fact, Emmanuel will pop up some photos. Imagine us, a bunch of smaller guys riding around these small bikes, and Digger pops up. And he's gone to be almost like our gentle giant. Everybody loves him. You literally have to line up to talk to him. When we go out on these Friday night rides now, we'll either end up somewhere at a fast food joint or at a taco stand. And it's amazing about the reception that the workers have. We were at Pink's, and the gals who work at Pink's Hot Dog, and Pink's infamous. You go there and everybody in the world, every celebrity in the world, and Digger goes there, they all stop cooking. They give him the Mexican salute. The music comes on. They don't know if he's a TV star. They don't know if he's a wrestler, but they love him. That reception, in fact, there's the outfit that I have yet to see Digger, no matter how cold or how warm it is, until tonight, see him outside of this outfit. So it's an imposing figure, and you really are a gentle giant. And I've watched you over the Friday nights work the crowd, and I knew there was much more than what meets the eye going on with you. But this is a photo of us. Wasn't this our Big Bear John a year ago?
No, this was out to Zuma. I believe we went from downtown LA with a group of mini bikes and went up to Zuma.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Yeah, you're having a good hair day that week.
Yeah.
So you've been involved. How many bikes have you had in your career, Digger? This Honda, the 600, is this one of 10 bikes? Is this one of 3 bikes? How many bikes have you had?
Probably a good 20 over my life period. Yeah.
So you've always been into bikes then?
I've always been into dirt bikes. The street bikes I've never really been into. As you can tell, this is more of a dirt bike. It does do street, but it's known for dirt.
Yeah.
So
you have an interesting approach that Ernesto and I constantly joke about. Is again, you're 6'4" and you're on that dirt bike, which is putting you up there. I don't know. You're at 7 foot. Now you're standing up because you like the off-road motocross stance where some guys like to stand on the pegs. It's either a style or it gives you a certain amount of stability. You often ride, and we joke about the fact you're going to hit your head on a bridge one time, but you have that. When did you pick up that standing up on the pegs riding style? You don't just do that every once in a while. You do that almost consistently. Is that something that you just is a habit now, or you do it for a reason, or what?
I do it for practice. I have a 1997 CR500 still.
Okay.
If you know what a CR500 is.
I'm just thinking trying to start it. I don't even want any part of it. Go ahead.
But that's my bike of choice.
Okay.
It gets me anywhere I want to go, as long as I know what I'm doing. So when I got this bike's about 100 pounds heavier. So I figured the more I ride this, the more practice I'm on this, the other bike would be better off for me. So when I ride
training.
standing up, it's more to continue to get more stand-up time, more foot pegs, and I like riding with my feet on the pegs when I'm out in the dirt. It makes the bike more controllable, and that's stuff I've learned over the years, over different time frames. So,
Digger, do you find being a big, tall, heavier guy is an advantage or a disadvantage on these bikes?
On motorbikes, it's usually a disadvantage because the bike isn't meant for me. Bike's meant for a gentleman in your size or in this aspect.
Good point.
30 pounds less. I usually carry 20 pounds or heavier on top of the extra pounds I have for my body wise.
Sure.
So it does definitely make a strain on the bikes.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't have that specifically as a question I wanted to ask you about, but it does kind of make sense there. So I have got to just get to a couple things. During our times together on Friday nights, we would make small talk. Part of the beauty of this is that we can just chit-chat, and then we're just gone with our real life.
Yes.
There's no concern about I didn't get back to him. I didn't follow up on his email. Or it's like, dude, we talk very openly and casually. I find on Friday nights with guys that range in so many different styles of real work. I know just with some of the conversations you and I had that you had a few other things going on, and I was hoping that we could not only, I'm sure a lot of guys who recognize you from the Friday Night Ride, who now see you professionally dressed up, looking very good, I might add, that there's a whole other side of you, Dean, that folks may not be aware of. And it has to do not only with things as pure as how to grow your own food and sustain. God knows what's coming down the corner. If you listen to one side of the table or the other, you do want to be self-sustainable if at all possible. There's a variety of shows and topics about that, but not only is that something that's of particular interest in what you do outside of riding these bikes, but you also have your foot in the door on opportunities where folks could do better financially and try to identify and get themselves on track with some of the challenges that folks maybe are missing out on. These are all topics, as you hear me discuss them, you don't traditionally hear on the show. But there's proof in the pudding that you know what you're talking about because I have had a chance to look into some of the Dean Stags that we don't know, and I've seen some of the photos with some of the folks that you're, I guess, rubbing shoulders with. I see the pictures. Well, boy, when I saw a picture with Steve Wozniak from Apple, and then I see my boy Al Pacino, and then I see you with Dr. Phil, it's like, wow. I said, there's a lot more to Dean than we're seeing on those Friday night rides when he's decked in the camo and standing up on his dirt bike. Where do I begin? What's the real side of Dean Stags that we don't know about? If you could share a little bit of that would be great.
Hashtag Dean Stags. Dean Stags is a... During life, I've learned a lot of opportunities, a lot of different things over life. And I've come to realize I have a gift to help people find their own knack, meaning their own why, and help them bring it to life so they can own their own life. So over time, I've been coached by many of different people. And I've learned this gift I have, I can help others. So I've created an organization. It's called Millionaire by Action.
Have a little logo here.
The logo there. And Millionaire by Action helps people monetize themselves to own their own life. How can you get out of your own way, let's per se? And I use my own life experiences to help people with their own life experiences. Hashtag Dean Stags is a hashtag. I was sitting in a coaching organization once, and this coach was up there, and I was asking a bunch of media questions, how to, how not to, and finally she came up with this hashtag, and I've never used it since. It has been a great hashtag. It works, and it's just a simple hashtag Dean Stags. It's my personal tag kind of thing. I put along with my coaching, along with some of the other personal out riding and some of the other organizations I'm with.
Yeah, I pulled like a half a dozen of those, and we'll not only, part of the beauty of the way that we handle the podcast, in fact, thanks again for listening. We're here with Dean Stags, Digger Dean, season 7 episode, somewhere around the 9th. Wow. Give a shout out to my man, Emmanuel Munda, D1 Productions. Thank you, E, for all the good work. Also want to give a shout out to those amazing kids of yours, that family of yours. The world better strap in tight for the Munda kids. All good things. Hope everybody had a good July 4th. We tried to. There was, I've been bouncing around now because a lot of my other work is doing these car shows across the U.S., and we recently had one in Indiana, and we're headed off to St. Paul, Minnesota this weekend for the Street Machine Nationals. For those of you who may be fans of street machines and muscle cars with a drag racing flair, or if you're just a hot rod guy, come and check us out. We're at St. Paul at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds, September this weekend, 15th, 16th. If you're into mini bikes, come by and say hi. I'll bring some decals. A shout out to my man Brian Ekstrom, his wife Jessica, and his daughter Bree. Big fans of the podcast. Thank you for the continuous support. Okay, Digger, so we're you meet all kinds of folks like I do on the podcast. Excuse me, on the on the rides on Friday night. Are any of those guys, when you look at them, some of the younger guys that still don't have a care in the world and are forgetting to wear a jacket and they're doing wheelies for 3 hours in downtown LA, do you look at some of the young guys and say, I can help them? Or do you see some of the older guys who may have kind of gotten to that point of their life? They're in their 50s, 55s, don't seem to be changing from week to week. Do you kind of look at around and say, I think I can help that guy? Or is that a typical way that you would, when you walk into a situation, are you always looking at ways that you may be able to help somebody find his niche, as you were talking about?
Well, I may not come in and target that per se.
Yes, but goes through your mind,
in the
maybe?
environment of talking with somebody
Yes.
and getting to know them, most people will address that with me. That gift I have, I mentioned.
Yeah.
A person will tell me what they need right off the bat.
Can you and I, based on our relationship, was there any of that? Were there any
Yes.
tells?
Yes, there was.
Could you share some of that?
Again, when I met Joe, it was at one of these nights. I believe it was the first night. Then I came back the following week. And again, it was kind of hanging around. So it was still getting to know people.
Yeah.
Conversation here and there, broke the ice.
Yeah,
And
you
then
were very slow approaching and...
I just didn't know anybody there, so I just didn't want to.
Yes, you're very
overbalance.
polite. Yeah.
And again, I didn't want to get ran over by some of the stunners and some of the other things. So
I mean, we're all scared to shit because every time Digger is like, oh my God, I hope this big guy doesn't kill us. So he's walking around, imagine him walking around on eggshells. We're all doing the same.
We're all doing the same.
All right, so we meet, yeah.
So we meet, and again, Minibike Joe's. It took me a little while to get what I needed out of you to actually know kind of what this was.
Oh, the Minibike show.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It
Or
was
the
kind of-
podcast for that
I
matter.
asked, and again, it was so much to go into an event. Thousands and thousands of different things. The yeses, the nos, maybes, the city, this, permits, insurances, so on and so forth.
Amen, brother.
So with a person putting one of these together, you really got to be thankful just to show up and say, hey, look at this. This is amazing. So thank you, Joe, for putting a show on. I've never been to one. I'm looking forward to this, but an opportunity just to come and see the style you put together. And again, the list of everybody. I have an old ATC, 1983.
Got the three-wheeler category.
Ready to come on out.
We
to
got
the
a
show.
category for
it
you,
might
boy.
not be my ex. It might be the ATC. You never know. So just the opportunity to be involved, like you had mentioned. It's okay to be on one side of the fence, but it is nicer to be on the inside. Come on in. It's okay.
Yeah. So the cast of characters that we meet on a Friday basis, are there folks where you're just like, you know what? I'm kind of hearing Ernesto, or I'm kind of hearing Ralph. You know what? I know Ralph now. I've had enough tacos with him. We've shared enough rides and stories. From what I can hear with Ralph or what I can hear with Joe, I bet I can help him. Do you find yourself getting to that point with your friendships, the ones that really matter? Are you kind of keen to try to get to that point?
In a sense, with the bike group here, I have not been able to. Not in the aspect, not wanting to, but just giving the people the opportunity to see me in this form.
Okay.
All right, you've seen me always in this form. And again, it's due to, I have a bunch of motorcycle dirt gear. And I had some paintball gear sitting around, and I go, I'd rather look like a paintball gear with a new bike versus a bunch of dirt bike gear.
Sure.
Because I was going to wear the gear. Yeah.
No
matter what, I was going to wear it.
No, I
It
hear
doesn't
you.
matter what I look like. I'd rather
Well,
not fall down and get scraped up or get ran over.
Yeah.
I'd rather wear that hot gear.
Outside of you, I think I'm probably I'm the oldest one on these rides. I say that I'm smiling, but deep down I'm crying. Digger is by far the most protected. I'm without question the second most protected. I'm the only one that wears the knee protectors, and I've always got my jacket with all my stuff on. I owe that to my family more than I owe it to myself, and deep down I owe it to myself too. Okay, so. I get it. This other side, the photos that went back with Wozniak and the photos with Dr. Phil and the other photos with some of the folks, were these photos, because it wasn't just you with hero photos. You're addressing the crowd. You're holding court. You're speaking. What's going on here? What's this side of Digger? What are you doing there now? Are you giving a seminar now, or are you speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I go internationally.
Okay.
I go in front of tens of thousands of people and I speak. And I give on a speech about what I do and how I can help the people in the communities. So I go all over the world doing this. And again, thousands of people show up and I speak to them.
Where are some of the recent places that you've spoken, or do you have anything else that's upcoming?
Like this one here, I think was down in San Diego.
Okay.
And I just go down and I talk about the 5 designs principles of what the basics people need.
What are they?
Save 10%.
Could you give us a little bit of a hint of what some of that would be?
Sure. If you're self-employed, set aside 10% of your income before you pay your debt.
Okay.
If you can't pay your debt at the end of the month, you still need to set that 10% and find another way to pay your debt.
Find another way. Don't take that trip where you needed to get the extra gas. Don't buy the Yankee baseball cap.
I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it another opportunity. You want those things, so don't deny yourself those things. Learn the opportunity to give you the way to keep what you like and then add on.
That 10%, without question.
Keep your 10%, but
Okay.
if you're really short at the end of the month,
Yeah. You know it's there, right?
and you know you're going to be short at the end of the
Yeah.
month, and you work towards not being short at the end of the month, you won't be short at the end of the month.
Yeah. What else, Digger? Any other tips maybe that one was very substantial on its own?
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another thing, you mentioned about sustaining yourself. My organization's got into another group. It's called You Can Grow Food. It's on Instagram. Come on over and follow, be friends, whatever. It's a group of, and again, this was on a flight back from I was speaking in front of thousands of people. I'm still jazzed. I'm on a flight coming home. I was sitting there and I go, what can I do with some of the skills I've had my past? My first business I've ever owned before I was out of high school was a landscaping engineering company.
Okay.
Doing piping, landscaping,
Irrigation and
irrigation and this and that, and not even knowing you need a state license, not even knowing I have jobs that require these things, that are signing agreements with me. And I'm in high school, not even graduated, where you need bonds and contract. And,
Just signing?
And these guys are signing these agreements and then learning, oh, by the way, you need $500,000 in insurance, or you might need this, or you might need the gas company to come out and dig a different line that's going to cost you an extra $50,000.
the end of being in business, the other side of it, right?
Yes. The
things they don't tell you about.
Those
Yeah.
how you know. And the very first opportunity was a lemonade stand. I was doing a lemonade stand, and these trucks would come by, the trash trucks.
Sure. The rubbish trucks.
And I'd offer the first guy free lemonade if you'd tell all of his buddies on the CB to come over. So they would race to get to the stand, and I was 10, 13, or whatever it was. It did it for a handful of years. So at lunch, I had 50 trucks up and down the truck, and it'd take them 20 minutes to get across town. So the supervisor would be on the other end of town when their lunch was over, expecting the truck would be rolling down the street, and they're still traveling across town. So he showed up one afternoon, and, hey, you're first, have a lemonade, tell your buddies, and if they get here, you have free lemonade. Oh, that's what's going on. And that was the last day I ever had city folks at my lemonade stand. And so I had to change my ways. So I got into landscaping, mowing lawns.
And how old were you at that time?
I was probably like 13, 14 years old.
We're here with Digger Dean Staggs. There's a variety
Dean's
of
tags. Excuse me.
Yeah, we've got a variety of hashtags that we'll post these. It's hashtag Dean Staggs.
Tags.
Dean's Tags.
Tags.
Okay,
Dean's
gotcha.
Tags.
Dean's Tags. DEANSTAGS. On the hashtag for Grow Your Own Food, it was hashtag YOU dash can grow.
No dash.
Okay, show
All
that
one
on your
word.
Instagram. So
Oh, excuse me.
clarify that. Talk a little bit about Grow Your Own Food, because I've actually started to grow my own stuff recently. In fact, this morning I had to go out there and release a friggin' chipmunk who's been making my life miserable for the last 3 days, eating my tomatoes. Growing your own food. Not only does it taste better, but it's yeah, there's a lot of question marks going forward.
There's a lot of
that's
question marks
important.
going forward.
Yeah.
And I was speaking one day, flying home, worn out from a 3-day event speaking and being in front of thousands and thousands of people. And I came up with this city garden system. Self-contained, all in one, that grows fruits and vegetables year-round by just adding water to it. So I got home, and again, I don't know if you know much, but
I don't.
I'm in the gold mining business. I own a few gold mines locally. So there's a manufacturer that I know, King Engineering, the gold mining company here in Chatsworth. Look them up if you want to find some good products for mining. So King Engineering came back, we talked, and I built this little system, and I sold this little city garden system, self-contained. And the company came by and picked it up off my hands.
Okay.
So I was doing another event, and I go, people really need food. It's coming where people need their own to sustain themselves. So I decided to come up with an app, and I'm working on it now. You can grow food.
Okay.
And you can grow food, Joe, by just trying, like you said.
Dear, are we talking about predictable tomatoes, cucumbers, celery? Or
That's fine. Perfect.
But
I like
there's hundreds of foods and fruits and vegetables that make up these areas that you're talking about, correct?
Yes.
What are some of those?
So let's go back with this 5 designs.
Okay.
So if you grow tomatoes,
Right.
And again, I'm do some little statistics, okay? And again, I know it's not in your form, Minibike
Yeah.
Reunion.
No. Look, I'm growing
But,
some celebrities. In fact, celebrity tomatoes.
A family of 4 spends an average from $18 to $32 a month. So if you do $20, just base
For tomatoes.
tomatoes,
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
18 to
$250
$32, $250.
Yeah.
One plant annually, $250. So if you do 5 plants that sustains $250 annually, that's $1,250. If you take that and put it towards your principal of a mortgage, not interest, not
Right, the
insurance,
principal.
just principles only. People have to learn what a principal is, and you can use it towards mortgage, automotive, whatever that might be. But towards your principal, $1,200 will change your 30-year down to a 27, down to a 20. Very easy, very quickly off of food. So I've created a system coaching people how not to grow food. If a person doesn't know how to grow one thing, teach them how to grow just strictly tomatoes.
Sure.
Then become a member of You Can Grow Food, and we vent people because it's a membership.
Okay.
With this membership, we vent to clients, so now you know that you can grow your tomatoes good. I don't need peppers because my friend Linda down the street grows peppers, and she's a community in You Can Grow Food. So she and you get together.
So you take the experts, so to speak, in their own respective vegetable or
then
fruit,
you
and they become ambassadors.
partners and share amongst yourselves
Your skills.
your food.
Okay.
You grow so much because you're going to have abundance.
Got it.
Because you know what you're doing with this skill.
So I get my celery from Emmanuel and
lettuce
you're the
from
tomato-
me,
Gotcha.
from so on and so forth. And if you have better skills that know what you're doing with more, you do more for stay in your house. And again, when I'm mentioning to people about saving that $20 that turns into $250, that turns into $1,200
Right.
in an annual form,
Yep.
and everything's based annually. It's not monthly.
Sure.
Just like a banquet or an institution, let's say.
Yes.
An institution works annually. So anything you do is annually. So if we do these numbers, you can really change your life. And that 10% we were just discussing can come from tomatoes. That's pretty simple, isn't it, Joe?
Well, as I was listening to your approaches, I stole put a little something towards that principle theory a long time ago. Linda and I probably couldn't, between the two of us, count how many cars we've owned over our time together. And most of them, when you first financed them, this was at a time when 48 months was a big thing. Now you can finance vehicles for 72 months and beyond. But it made a big difference when we would add just a little bit to that $417 payment. If you made it $450 and you use that $40, $39 every month towards the principal, you reduce that payment, and it's like, wow, we got like 8 months to go. It's like, no, we got like about 2 months to go because we've been chipping away. The example about how that tomato could cost you $20 a month, and after a year it's $240. Sometimes you get that money, and we refer to it as like FU money, and you buy something stupid. Digger's point in his suggestion, which is to take that and put it in a place that has some identifiable impact. Maybe in your case, your Honda Grom payment, or that stash to buy your next Zuma. Dean, we keep these podcasts somewhere around this time range. It's like we're getting towards the end of the show, and I want to first of all encourage everybody who's listening to check out. We'll post all the hashtags. We'll also include some in the follow-up posts on Instagram. Find out more about what lurks in the mind of Dean. You can check out Dean's tags, Instagram shots. There's a variety of other hashtags that will allow you to find out more about not only Millionaires by Action, Dean himself. I didn't get into and would love to have you back on. And a lot of folks, when we do go out, they do ask you about, hey, have you been on TV? Have you been in the movies? Where have I seen you? Before we end tonight's show, can you give us a little bit of your history in Hollywood? You know, we're in LA. You're kind of an LA guy. What have you done? What kind of credits or what kind of behind the scenes work have you done that maybe we can have some good exciting stories about as we end the podcast?
It's kind of interesting. I mentioned the landscaping company.
You did.
So I was staying with Grandma and Grandpa, finishing a job across the street, a neighbor's landscaping, and this gentleman showed up, had a few beers, and he goes, "Boy, you're a big guy. You can move the whole set." You know, and so on and so forth. So I was going away, and I had no interest because I had my own business. And I left for a 2-week vacation, and while I was gone, this gentleman knocked on the door a couple times at Grandma's house because I was staying there during that time frame.
Okay.
I come home, and the third time, Grandma finally asked the gentleman, "What would you like with my grandson?" "I want to give him a job in Hollywood. Have him look me up, please." So I get home, and I'm sitting with Grandma the next morning, and Grandma goes, "This gentleman been by a couple times." "Oh, yeah, he was so drunk that time I met him." And she chuckled, and she goes, "Yeah, you're going to go visit him tomorrow at some movie set." No, it's okay, Grandma, I have my own, it's okay. "No, you're going to go visit him." But
Oh, she was kind of pushing it along.
She said I was going to go visit this gentleman.
Sure.
There was no questions asked.
Yeah, okay.
You're saying you're going.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was already your agent. You didn't know it. Yeah.
There was no question. I was going to visit him. Oh, okay. So I went in there, and the guy he offered me this job as a laborer, pushing a broom, at X amount of dollars. And I go, and he started already. "I'll give you yesterday, tomorrow," and you're already on.
He wanted to get you in.
He wanted me right then and there.
Yeah, to get in.
So I pushed this broom in this little warehouse, and they built this 2-story big mansion inside a warehouse. That was in Pasadena. You would not even know it was a building inside a building. It blew me away.
Sure.
Things that were going on. And back in the day, it was more for a craft than it is today. It's different today than it was. So money was involved. So people didn't care what they spent. They wanted a clean, nice product to be able to sell.
Okay.
It didn't have to be corporate, didn't have to just push out there, so people were spending some money. So I'm pushing a broom for 2 days, and these guys call me in the office. So I walk up there, and the guy who hired me sits me down, and there was 2 other gentlemen, and then this guy who hired me, I'm sitting in between them. And this guy's a construction coordinator is the name of the title. And they do all the construction on a movie set.
Okay.
Including when I was pushing the broom. So these other 2 gentlemen were bosses of their departments. He asked, "I hear you have a landscaping company." I said, "Yes." He goes, "We have a job coming up. Would you like to be a greensman?" "A greensman? What's a greensman?" And this guy's been around for 40 years. Millions have been through his hands. Just in the movies, easy, hundreds of millions. He looks at his 2 guys. What am I? A greensman is the person who puts plants and trees and decorates it so the actors and actors can be next to. "Oh, wow, that sounds interesting. Okay." Or they hide things. If we had a big, huge truck and we need to hide it with a bunch of trees, we put these trucks and trees. And he asked about this tree. If it was dead, what would I do? So I said, I'd cut it out, or I'd ask one of your painters to paint it. And these guys been around for 30 years. These painters are just amazing. So He looked back at his two guys like this. Okay, you're hired. So I came on with the budget, was astronomical.
So it was behind the scenes.
It was behind the scenes.
Any
moving.
in front of camera?
I've been in front of camera a handful of times, but majority of my time is behind the scenes with moving the trees and plants around.
Yeah.
So I took my landscaping company, my shovels and picks and rakes, and turned them into Hollywood producing movies. And been working in the movies under a union for the last 26 years.
And do you still maintain?
I still maintain my union, and I've been in there. I'm going to get a union pension from there. There's no reason to leave.
Sure.
When I'm in front of tens of thousands of people, they say, why do you go back to a union job? I say, oh, that's my roots.
Literally.
I go back there and take a vacation because I'll be on the road for another X amount of time. I'll go in there. I know what I'm doing. I know how to handle the actors and actresses and move trees around.
So I continue to tell folks whenever we're out that you're a WWE wrestler, and that works fine. Folks, we've been here with Dean Staggs. We have covered a little bit of a storied career here. Hope you had a little bit of fun and insight. I sure did. Our next podcast is coming at you. I'm trying to work on getting Jake Moe back. Jake has been busy with typical Jake Moe fashion, building 4 or 5 bikes. And I know he's doing his best to get a couple of them done before the mini bike show that are mine. So hopefully we'll have a chance to get an update from Jake soon. There's also some talk about maybe having AVR Zoom and Zoom Junior join us from the Antelope Valley, the AV guys. We haven't had a chance to talk to the guys from the AV in a minute. So hopefully we'll have a chance to do that on the next Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. Thank you again for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I did. This is Joe from Joe's Minibike Reunion. We'll see you the next time. Thanks, everybody.
Minibike Show.